Jonathan Price was the kind of man people read about in business magazines. A wealthy CEO of a successful real estate empire, he lived in a sprawling suburban mansion with polished marble floors and a staff that ensured not a single detail was out of place. To the outside world, Jonathan had everything: money, influence, and a family. But inside that polished home, the cracks were deep. Every evening, when Jonathan returned home from work, his 7-year-old daughter, Emily, would be the first to greet him. Her tiny feet would race across the hardwood floor, her arms outstretched, her face lit up with pure joy. She would throw herself into his arms, hugging him tightly, breathing in the cologne she associated with Dad. And every evening, Jonathan would gently pat her on the head, sometimes distracted, sometimes too tired to return the warmth, and then pull out a gift from his briefcase. But the gift was never for her. It was always for Daniel, his son. Daniel, 3 years older than Emily, would appear in the doorway, glance at the gift, and accept it without much emotion. A new iPad, a signed baseball, the latest sneakers. He'd take them all and head upstairs without so much as a thank you. Jonathan told himself he had his reasons. Daniel was the heir to his company, the boy who would carry the Price name into the future. Everything Jonathan did was to prepare him for that role, to make sure he was happy, successful, and equipped. Emily, though bright and full of heart, wasn't part of that plan. As days turned into years, Emily learned to swallow her disappointment. She would sit silently at dinner, watching her father and brother talk about business, sports, or investments while her mother gently urged her to eat. One evening, Jonathan dismissed her from the table altogether. "Emily, go eat with your mom in the other room," he said casually, his eyes never leaving Daniel. Her fork froze midair. She was only 12, but the sting of exclusion cut deep. She stood up quietly and walked away, her throat tight. That same night, as Jonathan laughed with Daniel over some business anecdote, he suddenly clutched his throat. His face turned red, and he began to choke violently. Daniel sat frozen, eyes glued to the glowing screen of his phone, oblivious. It was Emily who came rushing back into the room, her small hands slapping her father's back, then wrapping around his stomach. She performed the Heimlich maneuver she had seen on TV, and with one final thrust, the piece of steak lodged in his throat flew out. Jonathan gasped for air, collapsing into her arms. For the first time in years, he hugged his daughter tightly, whispering, "You saved me." But the moment was fleeting. The next day, things went back to normal. Gifts for Daniel. Indifference for Emily. Silence where love should have been. By the time Emily turned 18, she had had enough. The years of neglect, the longing for recognition, the pain of being invisible, it weighed too heavily on her. One morning, she packed her bags, left a note on her pillow, and disappeared. She moved across the country, rented a small apartment, and built a life for herself far away from the marble floors and cold affection of her childhood home. She found work at a bookstore, then later became a teacher. She wasn't rich, but she was free. For the first time, she felt seen by her friends, her students, and herself. 10 years passed. One autumn evening, as the golden leaves swirled outside her window, Emily heard a knock at her door. She wasn't expecting anyone. Hesitant, she opened it and froze. There stood her father. He was no longer the commanding, sharp-dressed CEO she remembered. His shoulders sagged, his hair was gray, and his once strong frame looked fragile. His eyes, though, carried the weight of something heavier than age. "Emily," he whispered. His voice cracked, and tears welled in his eyes. She couldn't move. 1,000 emotions rushed through her: anger, sorrow, longing. She quickly turned away, covering her mouth to stifle the sobs that threatened to escape. "Please," Jonathan said, his voice trembling. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. Your brother, Daniel, he's gone. A car accident. And me, I have cancer. The doctors say I have a month left, maybe less." Emily's knees went weak. She gripped the edge of the doorframe, struggling to process his words. Jonathan took a shaky breath. "The company is collapsing. I need you, Emily. Please, come back and rescue what I built." For years, she had dreamed of hearing him say he needed her. But now, standing in the doorway of her modest home, the truth was clear. He didn't come for her. He came for the company. Still, when she saw his hollow eyes and trembling hands, something in her heart softened. She stepped forward and hugged him tightly, the years of distance collapsing in an instant. "I forgive you, Dad," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "But I found peace here. I can't go back." Jonathan's body shook as he wept into her shoulder. She held him for a long moment, then gently pulled away. Without another word, she shut the door behind her and slid to the floor, sobbing into her hands. Outside, the autumn wind carried away the last leaves of the season, as though erasing the years of pain. Inside, Emily wept not just for her father, but for the little girl who had once raced to the door every night, arms wide open, only to be left unseen. For the first time, she realized she no longer needed his approval. She was enough, and that was her freedom.